let's get right to it and break it down. We have a great matchup coming this Sunday with the Ryan Fire and the Vienna Vikings. And what's even better about this matchup is that we're going to get the first ever two-time ELF champion, right? So one of these teams is going to be a two-time ELF champion. Obviously, Vienna winning in their second season, Fire winning in the fourth. We see right here how the playoff has broken down. And these two teams, some of the best organizations, not just in the ELF but in all of Europe, have officially punched their ticket into the championship game. So let's go ahead and start breaking it down. And one of the things that I wanted to dive into first is the QB matchup. The QB matchup is definitely going to be a great one to watch, great one to break down. We got two of the top quarterbacks in the ELF. When you look at this matchup, we have Jadrian Clark, who is a OG in the ELF. He's someone that's been to the championship game 3 times, right? Two with the Fire, one with the Hamburg Sea Devils back in year one, and he's going up against his counterpart in the Ben Holmes, who in Europe standards is considered quote unquote a rookie, but he does have international experience play just in regards in general. So let's start with the mayor of Ben BP and Alex Malchow. What do you think about this matchup, my friend?
Yeah, this is one of the better QB matchups of the whole season. Really excited to see this matchup. I think maybe in the future, ELF can sprinkle in some more interconference games moving forward, because we missed this in the regular season, right? Two premier quarterbacks going against each other. And, I know my guy Ben Holmes is going to have continue his great season. I feel like Matt and I are kind of on the playground and we're having like a my dad can beat your dad moment, But yeah, I mean, Ben Holmes, he played, maybe saved his best for last in the semifinal. Showed off the wheels. That came out of nowhere. 60-yard touchdown run. And I think he finished the game with like 450 total yards and 6 touchdowns. Absolutely crazy stat line. Now he faces the best defense he's faced yet. Jadrian Clark, again, facing a tough defense. So we're going to see 2 great passes out there for sure. And maybe it's a race to 30.
Hey, if it's a race to 30, we're definitely getting our money's worth right here.
Absolutely.
When you look at Ben though, and everyone talks about it, obviously the conference, who they played, all this stuff. You mentioned it. We saw a different side of Ben Holmes in the playoffs that we really haven't seen all season. That's him using his feet. One thing that I do want to point out though, he's about to go up against maybe the best safety tandem that we've seen in the league, in Marlo Sean Franklin and Amari Williams. When you look at Ben going up against those two at safety, what do you think about his matchup there?
Yeah, it's tough. I think he's got to make like the outside throws. It's going to be tough to go like over the middle with Amari Williams, Preefman, Marlo Sean Franklin, 2 amazing defensive backs. So, if he goes over the middle, I think maybe go to Florian Bierbaumer, but while Ben Holmes is, the hero, and I'm always touting Ben VP, this team is, built around Kari Pyre, and he's got to keep him on schedule. So really, I think, not to sound cliche, but it's going to come down to the trenches a lot as well.
We love some trench talk. Trench talk, man. Both options do have great offensive line, and they've been able to keep these quarterbacks, upright for the most part. On the other side of that, you have Jadrian Clark, who, again, I've mentioned it, is playing with house money. This team has not really had to rely on him throughout the whole season. More so, a lot more with the run game. But Matt, talk to me about Mr. JC himself.
I mean, it's been a weird season for him, right? If start of the year wasn't starting off too hot, kind of threw a lot more interceptions than what we're used to, considering last season how amazing he was, an MVP, rightfully so. And if you look at it, like the numbers alone, he's throwing like less passes than pretty much everyone. He's throwing less passes than Mangle, less passes than Wheat, less passes than Aiken, like all these numbers, because he's had the monster that is Glenn Tonga in the backfield, so he's not really needed to. So you could argue that he's kind of saving his arm maybe for the playoffs. He has been definitely on the later half of this year, has been tearing it up. You look at those numbers as well. He's got 67% accuracy, so he's been accurate. And this is a Vienna defense that is quite young. Like, they are not a very experienced team. Ben Straight is young. Swankor is young. Talitza is young. Even the Americans, Coleman is like just out of university. Like, he's, I think, 2 years removed from being at Elon. The only real experience that guys they have are on the D line and Xavier Edwards. Like, and that's I think is going to show. Jadrian, like we've talked about before, has been to this dance before. He's been with House Money. He's the MVP. He's probably got the better offensive weapons in front of him and the other offensive line if you look at them like for like. And he's also got probably the MVP behind him as well. So I feel he would be very safe. Like, I don't know how he's feeling, but I imagine he doesn't feel too scared when you've got that wall of like Ryan Fire in front of him. Like, it's an incredible offensive line, and he's been so much better in the second half of the year than he has been in the first. So I feel like he's on for a good one.
What do we say about Jadrian? 4 seasons in the ELF, 3 championship appearances. You know, the only time he hasn't made it was when he hasn't really played a full season and he was signed midway, you know, with the Ryan Fire. This guy's making his 3rd ELF championship experience. What do we say about Jadrian and, you know, what he means, you know, to the league, not just the Ryan Fire, but what he means to the league and the success that he has had, not just in the ELF, but in all of Europe, as you can add this to his resume.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a friend of mine, so of course I'm going to be raising him. He's been, like you say, he's been around the block for like 10 years. He was with New Yorker, he was with the Cougars, he was with
the Vikings,
he was with Unicorns, he was with Vikings. Like, he's been everywhere. So he's not just on the ELF probably round. I know we talked about Mount Rushmore before, and he's probably on that. But he's probably also on the European version because he's been in all these leagues. He's won now a championship. He's got the MVP. I know some people say that like he's only been most successful. He's had his like super teams around him, but like you got to win these games. You can't just bad quarterback's not going to be able to perform even in a great scheme sometimes. So I think that he's as close to we have as a modern Hall of Famer. Granted, it's only 4 years into the league. You know, Hall of Fame I think is maybe a bit premature, but coming down the line, I think he's probably going to be in that conversation as like first ballot guy.
Yeah, I think Matt's totally right. I'll just jump in here. When I listen to the NFL Hall of Fame, one thing they say is, can you tell the story of the league with this person or without this person? And you cannot tell the story of ELF without Jadrian Clark. So hats off to him. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, he has a chance to really add to his legacy on Sunday.
Most definitely.
I'm so stealing that line, by the way.
Hey, you can definitely
go for it.
We share info. Hey, I before playoffs started, I presented this question in a video on Athletes Fun podcast. You know, who do you trust? And it was breaking down obviously the quarterbacks, a very team that were in the playoffs. And now we're at the championship game, and we're talking quarterbacks, and obviously the 2 that have been some of the best throughout the season are now in the championship. You know, without disclosing like your picks, or in this game right here, who would you trust the most to make that one play? Not necessarily that's going to win the game, but that one play pressure moment to make the throw.
Man, it's tough. I really think both these quarterbacks are excellent. Ben Holmes has given you no reason not to trust him. You know, whenever they needed him in the clutch, he came up. And the same with Jadrian. I mean, it's like these guys are both studs. Yeah, I mean, I'll go with Ben Holmes because I'm gonna ride the train to the last stop now.
I'm gonna go with Jadrian because in the playoffs he's first. Obviously, we talked about how often he's been in a championship game, but he's played 6 playoff games, which I believe is more than anyone else at quarterback position. Certainly, he's got around the same accuracy. He's went 67 this year. Playoffs he's went 66, so minus 1%, but it's over the course of 3 years. 7 for 2 touchdowns to interception rates. He's been successful. Ben Holmes, I said in the preseason, I was unsure how he stepped up with this competition. That was my big thing. Was like, whenever he stepped up, he hadn't done too, fantastic. This year he's been rather brilliant. And then in the playoffs, he was out like against against Paris, he was sublime. Like, it was kind of a perfect performance. So he stepped up great. He's definitely put a lot of the questions that I had around his game to bed. And I think they'll both play well. I think either of the quarterbacks is going to have a bad game in this game. I don't see
Yeah.
a way that either of them play poorly.
Yeah, it just makes this game more exciting when you have quarterbacks that can sling the rock and are in control of the offense, are able to, make the throw, make the plays, and have the experience as well. So we're definitely in for a good one.